In the last video, I gave you an overview of how photographers use masks combined with adjustment layers to execute precise changes to parts of a photograph. But you can also have a lot of fun with masks too, which is what I'm going to show you now. For those of you who like your time to be used wisely and not frivolously, don't stress. There is an educational aspect to this exercise too, as it increases your familiarity with masks, the brush tool, and ensures you get lots of practice, which of course makes perfect. But who doesn't want that? Okay, so let me explain what we're about to do. As you can see on the screen here, I've got a picture of a model, and we're going to put on top of that a picture of another model. What we're simply going to do then is add a mask to this top image and merge the two pictures together. We're then going to add some adjustment layers just to give them a slightly more finished look. Now the idea of these things is that they're not perfect, they're just a bit of fun to do. The very first thing you'll want to do is download some images to play with, and there are lots of places online to do that. Let me show you a couple. When you have the Adobe Photography plan, you get access to the free images in Adobe Stock Images, and make sure you have free selected when you go and look at the images. But as you can see, you get absolutely hundreds of images here, including this one, which I used for this very tutorial. And as you scroll down, you can see that you can get lots and lots of suitable images that you can use to practice any of these tutorials. This is one of 88 pages. There are a couple of other sites I use as well, so let's have a look at those. The next one is Unsplash. If I type in model faces in there, click OK, you can see that you get, again, lots and lots of different images which you can use. The Adobe stock ones, I think, are possibly my favorites. I've used some of these images that I'm looking at now from Unsplash, but I think you just get more consistent quality from the Adobe stock. The other great site to use as well is Pexels. So let me pop that in there, model faces, and you can see you get a full range of photographs that you can download for free and work on in this or any other tutorials. Let's move on. Okay, so let's make a start. Go to your libraries palette, and as you can see here, I've already got some photographs dragged in. I'm going to double click on this one to open it. And then what I'm going to do is scroll down, and I'm going to select this image and just drag it over. The first thing you need to do is scale this image up so it's approximately the same size as the one underneath. To make it easier for yourself, go to layers. You can see that this layer is selected here, and drop the opacity to around 50%. It doesn't have to be exact. And then you simply grab the handles and scale your image approximately to fit. There we go. That's obviously a wee bit too big, so let's make it smaller. I find the easiest thing to do is to make the faces about the same size. Don't necessarily look to line the eyes up, because the position of people's eyes on their head is different from one another. So just look for the jawline. I'm using the keyboard left and right keys and up and down to just nudge the image over. And then I'm just going to keep this top one open just to move it and make the faces roughly the right size. I might speed this up in editing for you. That's going to do. What we want to do now is click on this image and bring it back up to 100%. And then it's really simple. It's just what we did in the last video. Go down here and select a mask. Make sure that your brush is black because the mask is white. I would suggest using a flow of about 50%. And then simply, I'm going to Alt and right click. I'm going to use my mouse for this one. I'm going to Alt and right click on the image. And if you drag your mouse around, if you drag it up and down, you can change the hardness. If you drag it left and right, you can change the size. I'm going to put it about the same size as his eye socket. And I'm going to make the hardness 0, so it's a nice soft brush. And then I'm simply going to use the mouse just to paint on the mask. Make sure you've got the mask selected and not the image. And what you'll see is it hides the face that's on the top image and starts bringing in the face from the one below. Keep inside the jawline and the overall outside shape of the face, and you can see that fairly quickly you can give this guy a whole new look. Let's remove those lines there. Remove that there. And there you go. If you want to see where your mask is, either Alt or Option click on the mask and then you can get the bits that you missed. If you want to see the mask and the image together, Alt, Shift or Command and Option click on the mask. And there you go. You can just make sure you go around the hairline nicely like that. And you can sort of see what you're doing. Alt, Shift and click again, and there you are. If I turn the mask on and off, you can see what a radical... If I turn the mask on and off by holding Shift and clicking on the mask, you can see what a radical difference that makes. Now, you've probably noticed that the lighting, if I go back to the full images, the lighting on the first image is a lot brighter than the face on the second image. And of course, what you can do, this is only a bit of fun, but what you can do is use adjustment layers to match that up. So I would start with a curves layer and I would bring up the overall brightness of the face, which brightens the whole image. And then to further unify it, I would go to a color lookup table, go over here to your 3D LUT files. Let's give him some edgy amber, which is way too much. And what we're going to do is use a blending mode just to soften this down. I'm going to turn it to soft light, which looks rather ill, doesn't it? And bring the opacity down to about 36%. So let me zoom in on him, and so he fills the screen. And there you have it. That's our first one. If you downloaded my file from my website, you'll see that some of the layers have had the background removed. I'm just going to show you how to do that quickly now. Let's turn off this layer, so we've got a grey background, and bring this photograph in. We're going to remove this red background here. What you need to do is go up here to the toolbar on the left-hand side of the screen and pick one of the selection tools. Object or quick selection will do, it doesn't really matter. And you'll get this pop-up menu appear in the top saying Select Subject. There's a drop-down menu where it will do it on the device or it will do it on the cloud. Cloud gives you better results, so if you can click on that. And then simply all you do is click on Select Subject. It'll take a second and then you'll get these marching ants which have selected the subject. Now, of course, we don't want the subject, we want the background, and it's simply a matter of going up to Select here and clicking on Inverse. Press Delete and the background is gone. Select Ctrl and D to remove the marching ants and you're good to go. If I hide the background here, you can see that now that that's a transparent background. Okay, let's get back to the images. So we've done that fellow. All right, so let's move on to group 2. If I open up group 2, we can look at the two photographs here. One is a very high class fashion shoot, perfectly made up, beautiful model. The other one is more a sort of standard studio shot that you take of a client. These are two very different looking people, but what we're going to do is use exactly the same technique and mask them together. So select the image that's on top, select the mask icon. So select your brush tool. And then what we're going to do is select a brush of about yay size. And then just start painting on. What you want to do with this one particularly is keep within the hairline of the top model. So it's really quite straightforward. My flow is at 50%. I'd recommend you do that as well. So just paint around in here for now and just go up to the edges. And as you see, we eliminate the eyebrows and eyes of the current model. We'll go down here. And again, the trick is keeping within the jawline of the model that's on the top, so you don't go outside. That is spookily good. Going to make the brush a bit smaller. Go down here. I'm going to click Alt and click on the mask, and I can see the bits I've missed. And I'm just going to go in and paint those. Now, the idea of these images is not that they're perfect. It's just a bit of fun to have. So please don't put loads of things in the comments saying, oh, I can see her skin tone is a different colour on the bottom. Indeed it is, but there are ways that you can actually fix that. So let's, for example, put a curves layer above. And what we'll do is we'll just bring the overall tone of the entire image up. If you think that the face inside is more contrasty than the face above it, again, just go and highlight the face that's too bright. Put a curves layer above it. And then what you want to do is you just want to make it lighter. The way you do that is you bring the blacks up slightly and you bring the whites down, and it matches more the tone of the image that's on top of it. You're just making the whites less white and the blacks less solid black. You're reducing the contrast because the image above has less contrast than the one below. That looks like a pretty good match to me. As always with these things, we put a curves layer on top, which helps harmonize it. I find that with these kind of fun things as well, add a color lookup. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to pick a color lookup. I'm going to go to teal and orange. Ooh, that's not bad, but I would like a bit more blue in it. And simply, again, just for fun, I'm going to use a solid color layer and I'm going to pick a blue over here. And I'm going to go over here, use soft light and just bring the opacity down a shade. There you go. See how simple and quick that was? All right, let's move on to the next one. Turn these layers on. Oh, he's a cheerful looking chap, isn't he? We've got this chap here and we've got our friend with the red background that we took the background away from last time. This is really simple. This one, the faces fit very nicely. So again, just go to the top layer, put a mask on, make sure your brush is black, make sure you've got the brush tool selected and the flow is 50%. I'm going to go slightly big, make sure you're using a soft brush, and there you go. Just go in like this. Stay inside the face. I quite like this guy's eyebrows. And then just go up here like that. Now, once again, as you can see, the lighting used in the two photographs is very different. And the guy below is sort of very pale. Let me just alt click on that mask. Get the bits of mist. That looks like I should have had that there. Alt click again. And there you have it. So again, you can change this by going to the photo below and popping a curves layer above and just analysing the lighting. If we go, I'm going to hide the mask here by pressing shift click. It's quite contrasty and it's really quite sharp. Whereas if you look at the picture below, it's very pale and not anywhere near as contrasty. So again, you can either bring this one down to the lighting qualities of the picture below or the other way around. It's probably easier to do it the other way around and bring this one up to that one to add more contrast and try and take it away. Although having said that, that is of course what we did in the last one. So let's bring the mask back. You do that by pressing shift and clicking on the mask. Let's go to curves here and let's just play, well, there's some drop down options. Have a look at those. Increase contrast. There you go. That's probably a little too much for me. So what we'll do is we'll just bring the darks up slightly. A bit pale, I don't know. Actually, it might be better like that. There you go. I quite like that. But again, to unify the entire image, pop a curves layer on top. And this is all good practice for you. Whatever you do, pop curves layer on top. I'm actually going to make that one slightly darker. And then again, just for an overall universal pattern, if you like, I'm going to add a color lookup. Then you can just flip through these, just highlight one, and then you can just pop through them using your keyboard. I quite like that. That's nice and poppy. A crisp, warm look. Might be a little strong, so again, you can just download the opacity of it like that. Down to that 0 and go back up. I quite like it, and it's only a bit of fun, isn't it? And there you have it. Okay, one more to go, and I particularly like this last one because I haven't removed the background from the image and they're two very different looking faces. So that's the first face and that's the second one. And as you can see, these are very different size and shape of faces. So let me show you the positioning on this one. I'm going to just reduce the opacity of that. There you have it. Now, as you can see, her jawline goes outside. Usually I would suggest trying to get the jawlines perfectly, but her jawline goes outside. It means you have to be a bit more careful where you paint. again, exactly the same thing. Put a mask on there. Make sure your brush is black, float is 50, and start from the centre of the face. And I love the effect this gives. I think it's really funny. But then I'm very easily amused. Now you see her hairline's coming in? Well, that's okay, because they've both got dark hair. You can just incorporate it in. Gone out a bit there, so I'm going to reverse my brush to bring her hairline back. Just reverse the brush to get stuff back that you've accidentally deleted. Don't know what's going on there. We'll come back to that in a minute. Come down here. As you can see, her mouth is in a very different place, and what we're going to have to do is use her chin and match it up as close as we can. There, like that. Now, as I say, this is not meant to be perfect. It's just meant to be a bit of fun. As you can see, this area isn't quite right, so I'm going to reverse my brush and hide it again. And bring the original face back. That's interesting. I thought that this little bit here was coming in from the image that's below, but it's not. It's actually part of the top image. So I'm going to leave that there. Go back, just bring this in. Take that out. Got to be a bit more careful around here. Now, as you can see, again, we've got very different lighting conditions between the two pictures. If you want to, you can take a bit more time finessing this line. But my advice to you, looking at it now quickly, is go with the jawline of the lower picture. They kind of merge there. What we're going to do is hide that with some curves. So if we put curves layer right on the top here and just brighten, should we brighten it or darken it? Let's darken it actually. There's some nice contrast in here. Now, what I forgot to do was go in and do this, because as you can see, I've missed an area. One of the other useful tools you can use for this is, instead of just looking at the mask in black and white, you can press Alt-Shift and click on the mask, and you can see the mask with the image. And this is kind of useful because you can then make sure that you get exactly the line around near the face. It doesn't always work because, of course, this is not an exact science, it's just fun. But at least you can see both together. Then just press Alt and Shift, click on it again, and there you go, it's all gone. Okay, I'm rather liking that, but I'm going to pop another LUT on there. You could, if you want, again, put curves between the two images and adjust that way. There you go. I actually quite like that because it seems to bring the lower face up to the same tonal qualities of the top one. Finish with a LUT. And pop them in. I can't like 3 strip for this. Not like that, I don't. So what we're going to do is go down here and choose color lookup. And we're going to select color lookup. And once again, we're just going to have a look at the different ones and see which affects most. I quite like crisp warm. It pumps the colors, which I rather like. But again, just scroll through them. See whichever one you like. You know, what I'm going to do is just go up here and choose 3 strip, and then what I'm going to do again, because I really like the colours in this, is I'm just going to add a hue saturation layer on top of that, and I'm just going to pump the overall saturation like that. And there you are. That's kind of it, really. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. See you next time.